Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I am coming to you with the ranking of the Imperial ships for Star Wars Armada. I am going to basically break them down one by one based on a number of factors: firepower, movement, survivability, their ability to support squadrons, and their ability to just support the fleet as a whole. The more fleets you can use them in, the better, and all things considered, this is going to be my personal top, well, I guess it'll be top 8 because there's 8 different Imperial ships. So let's get started. I'm going to start with number 8, and this is basically my least favorite, and it's the Raider. So the Raider is my least favorite. I know a lot of people love the Raider, and it's not that I think it's terrible. It's actually gotten a lot of improvements lately. It's just that I don't usually use it. Now this can change. Boarding parties have just made it better. There's a lot of external racks have just made it better. Wave 6 coming out definitely made the Raider better. I haven't used it. I'm being honest. I haven't used it yet in Wave 6. So I'm withholding some judgment there. I hope it gets better. I hope it becomes more usable. I have lots of these. I have like 3 Raiders right now. I just don't use them that much though, because there's other stuff I like to use more. But the price is right for this ship. The firepower, it doesn't have the red dice, so you can't even use it at long range. So you have to get in close to use it. They serve multiple purposes, and one thing I love though about the Raider, at least the Raider 1, is its ability to shut down squadrons. The fact that you can give this guy, a wealth of things that are very effective against squadrons make it really nice, especially with the double black dice. I wish the Rebels had something like this, but I love that about this ship. It's just that I just don't put it in very many fleets. I imagine a lot of you watching might rank it higher than dead last, and I understand that. But like I said, this is my opinion, and a lot of it is based on how much I use it. So Raider is in the last place for me. Let's move up to number 7. I think 7 might be some of you guys' last place entry, and that's the Interdictor. So I thought long and hard about this and where I was going to put it, because I can definitely understand somebody putting the Interdictor in last place right now. The reason I have it up is because I really, really like the Interdictor. I'm definitely admitting my own bias here, is that I think the Interdictor is absolutely fantastic. Compared to the Raider, at least. Now, if it was really that fantastic, I would rank it much higher. The problem is it's absolutely fantastic if you're going to guarantee that you're going to be the second player, because its ability to do things with with objectives and be able to move obstacles around and be able to really control the battlefield is unparalleled. I also think it has a tremendous amount of fleet support that you can do with it. It's moderate for squadron support. The squadron value of only 2 isn't that great, but you can do, it can function as a carrier. It doesn't really have very good movement. It doesn't really have very good firepower, so it's just a little bit below the bar in so many categories that make it really hard to field. And then the price point is just so high. It's one of the most expensive ships in the game, and that's what makes it so hard to take. If you knocked 15 points off of this thing, it would see so much more play. And it's just that, but the fact that it's got the experimental upgrade is just so nice for controlling the battlefield. So I love the Interdictor when you know that you are going to be second player. Unfortunately, that's really the only, there's not. I have to specifically make an objective-based, fleet for the Interdictor to really shine. So in that regard, I tend to not use it as much. But when I do, it's a load of fun. So I think the fun factor is what's making me put the Interdictor above the Raider. So that's the Interdictor at number 7. Moving up to number 6, we're getting the Gladiator. So Gladiator is getting a little bit higher in rank, but it's still on the lower end of the spectrum. And really, that's because the Demolisher title is kind of the only one that people take. People generally just take a Gladiator 1 with Demolisher, and that's about the only type of Gladiator. So there's like no there's virtually no versatility with this ship. Sometimes people will take something else, sometimes people will run it without a title, but it's just very rare for that to happen. Now, that being said, it's not terrible. It's decent for movement. Definitely, it's definitely decent for movement. It's moderate for survivability, and not terribly good for survivability, but it's not awful either. Kind of in the middle for survivability. A little higher for movement, but not great. Not particularly great for squadron support. You've got a squadron value of 2, which isn't bad, but you're missing certain key things, like offensive retrofit. People generally don't run Gladiators as squadron-based ships, and you're not really getting much in the way of fleet support either. But so because it's kind of on the bar or lower on so many categories, the one that it really shines is firepower, but only when you're using the Demolisher title. So that's been given it enough, in my opinion, to push it up past the Interdictor and the Raider, but not really to carry it a whole lot farther than that. So yes, number 6 is the Gladiator. Number 5 is the Quasar. So Quasar's still a little new. Whoa! Alright, there we go. Quasar is still a little new, but I'm really liking it so far. I think it's just the perfect carrier. It has everything I want in a carrier. So, best carrier in the game, hands down. Of course, that's my opinion, but absolutely best carrier in the game. Especially the Quasar 2. Also, it's unique in that it's very, very strong as far as firepower as it applies to anti-squadrons. Because that red die, you put Callus on here, it's just insane for the Quasar 2. So that much is also very, very, very nice. But in general, the firepower is just kind of medium. Its movement is about medium too. It's not terrible for movement. But and then of course squadron support off the charts. Fleet support, not really. It's just got great titles for squadrons. It's just got great upgrades for squadrons. It's not particularly survivable, but since you're running it as a carrier, and since the Empire has really good relay abilities, you can kind of keep it in the back if you want to, so it can still be survivable. And I mean, it does have the brace, but so you're getting the brace at least. So it's moderate in survivability, but it's just because it's so good of a carrier and can function both as a carrier or as a counter squadron. It ranks a little bit above the Gladiator for me, and also it has it has multiple titles to help it perform that squadron support role. So the Quasar coming in at number 5. Now number 4, which I kind of jumped to earlier, is the Victory. Now the Victory is just amazing. So the Victory is kind of like the workhorse of the Empire right now. It's the jack of all trades, and it also has just gotten a lot better with Wave 6. Victory is really ranking very, very high in almost every single aspect. And for some of you, you may have the Victory as your number 1 Imperial ship, and I totally understand that. There's not a whole lot that I can say against the Victory, and honestly, I think for the top 4, they're all very, very close. Because they're all really good. The Empire has a lot of really good, strong ships. So the Victory is amazing with firepower. Well, specifically the Vic 2. The Vic 1 is all right with firepower, but it just requires, more specific things. But the Vic 2, amazing with firepower. Especially with all the new stuff we get with this, especially with disposable capacitors and gunnery teams, just amazing. Movement is where it completely falls apart. Worst movement in the game right here, and that's one thing that has it at the bottom of like the worst of the best, right? If I was going to call the Victory anything, maybe the worst of the best. Movement really, really suffers. Survivability is very good. You got a hull of 8. You do have a brace. You have 2 redirects and lots of shields all around. You do have a weak spot in the back, but that's forgivable. It's pretty good. It doesn't have the defensive retrofit, but it's pretty darn good on survivability. Squadron support, it's very good. This was the the ideal carrier until the Quasar came around. It was, I mean, not ideal, but it was pretty much most Imperial players' carrier of choice because of its cost at only 73 or 85 points. But usually the carrier would be run. A Victory 1 would often be run as a carrier. You have a lot of important squadron slots on this ship that you can kind of outfit it as a gunship or a carrier. So it works very, very good as squadron support. Not really so much fleet support, but definitely squadron support, definitely firepower, and definitely survivability. So the Victory at number 4. Moving up to number 3, the Gozanti. So of course the Gozanti, the flotillas are strong in this game right now. They just got nerfed a little bit, so you can't put your commander on there, but still, the Gozanti ranks very, very high. It's the cheapest Imperial ship. It is amazing and can fit into every single fleet, which gives it a lot of points in my book. Definitely ranks very high for fleet support. It also ranks fairly high for squadron support. It's at the price point and having a squadron value of 2. Gozantis are amazing for being able, well, I should say it shouldn't rank fairly high. It ranks very, very high for squadron support. They're not the best, carriers, but they're the cheapest carriers, and they're very efficient as far as just being able to get your squadron activations. They're very, very good for that. They're pretty solid for movement as well, and they're not particularly great for firepower, but considering that they are so cheap, they're not bad. You can actually run a lot of Gozanti class assault carriers, have them all do concentrate fire, and have Vader as your commander, and now you've got a whole line of like 10 ships all rolling 2 black dice at long range. So you could potentially do some really weird stuff. Like, I don't actually suggest you do that, but that would be kind of funny. But they definitely have more firepower than their rebel counterparts, the GR75. So firepower very, very weak, but at least they have some. But they're all right on movement. But where they really shine is in fleet support and squadron support. Also, there's their cost and their ability to fit into just about any type of fleet. I definitely like them, and they have really good titles too. That's another thing that's really nice about them, is they have some very, very nice titles. The Gozanti coming in at number 3. We're into the top 2, and number 2 is the ISD. You might slightly differ from me on this, but yeah, the ISD is my number 2 ship for the Empire. The ISD is what made me get into Armada. When I saw the model for this thing, I had to buy it. I had to say, all right, I'm going to give Armada a try. This is the ship that made me fall in love with the game. So of course it has a special place in my heart, but it's also the most monstrous ship in the game. It is insane how scary this thing is on the battlefield. The ship model itself, I haven't really been including the ship models in my criteria of what makes a ship amazing on this list, but in this guy's case, I'll make an exception because it's the biggest model currently in the game, and it's the most beautiful model currently in the game, and it's it's the type of thing that makes people walking by stop and look at your game table and say, oh my gosh, what is that? But now that we've gotten the beauty of the thing out of the way, let's talk about defensibility. All right, it's got incredible survivability in its 11 hull, up to being able to guarantee that you can brace with 11 hull and all those shields with with the defensive retrofit. It's just amazing. It's got a lot of shields all around it. 4 in the front, 3 on the sides, 2 in the rear. Even its rear isn't that weak. It's good against squadrons. It's really good as squadron support. It can be a great carrier. It excels in just about every single role, which is really, really nice. Not so much in the fleet support role, I suppose. If we had to pick one area as far as what I've been comparing everything else to, it's not particularly a fleet support ship. It's just a giant Mack truck that's going to get in the face of your enemies and destroy them. So it's really, really nice for that. But definitely the strength is at the top of the charts when it comes to firepower. It's just beautiful and magnificent as far as firepower with those 8 dice in the front. Oh, this thing is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I don't really think I need to say too much more about the ISD. other than it's just magnificent. It's very, very expensive, but it's magnificent. And on to my number one. If you haven't guessed it by now, it's the Arquitens. I have made it very little secret that I'm in love with the Arquitens, and I can totally understand if you disagree with my number one choice, because there are a lot of good choices for the Empire. But the Arquitens is the reason it edged out everybody else is because it fits into my particular playstyle. I've had a lot of success with the Arquitens, more so than most other people that I've played against or talked to. I just have a lot of success with the Arquitens. Now, first I'm going to run through the basic criteria, and then I'm just going to talk a little more about it. But so firepower, it's actually very, very strong for the cost. For the cost, you're still getting 3 dice out of the sides at long range. If you concentrate fire, you can get 4. If you run certain turbo laser upgrades, you can get even 5. So for a ship that costs less than 60 points, you can do amazing things. So love that, specifically at long range. Up close, not as good, but not terrible. All right, movement, it's kind of in the middle. Now it has the speed, that's reasonable. Speed 3 is always reasonable. It's kind of the minimum to be a mobile ship, but it doesn't have all the clicks that people generally want. So that's why it's a little, I think it's a little bit below par on movement. Survivability, it's also a little bit below par on survivability. It's got 4 defensive tokens, so maybe it's in the middle. Actually, I'd rank it in the middle as far as survivability, because it's got a hull of 5, which is pretty good for a small ship. It's got 4 defense tokens, which is pretty good. It's got 2 shields all around, so it's actually not really bad on the shields either. That's 8 total shields. With the 2 redirects, you're probably going to be able to take care of that. You do have the contain, so you can really make the best use of those 5 hull. And you also have a defensive retrofit, so you can do your blast doors or whatever else you need. So you do have some moderate survivability for the fact that it's a small ship and that it is that it's cheap. But I think for a little bit of squadron support, it's got a squadron title. It's got a minor amount of fleet support. It's got some interesting titles, but I don't think the titles are really what gives this guy its strength. The strength in this ship comes from the firepower, and then something else which is my favorite thing, is the ability to kind of just fly the ship in a line, like what I'd call the conga line. But for the cost, it's really tremendous firepower, and the ability. And I think it's the arcs is what gives it the real strength, because the Nebulon on the Rebel side still has 3 red dice in the front arc for even cheaper than this. But the difference there is that it's a narrow arc. Now, the side arcs on these guys are very, very wide, which means it's very easy to use their attack dice. They're very wide side arcs, and it's easy to line up shots. It's easy to line up multiple shots depending on the way you're flying. So I think it's just amazing the way I like to generally fly them all in a line, and kind of keeping the one side arc to pointing towards my enemies. So I'm going to hit you with many of them, like in groups of 4 or more. These guys are completely devastating, and you just can't get close to them because I'll fly them around you. Now, their movement, while it ranks lower, I've gotten very used to how to fly them, and so I'm very, very comfortable flying these guys, and especially because of the way I like to fly them, kind of in a circular pattern. Like the clicks on the end make it ideal for that sort of thing. So I'm extremely comfortable with these guys, and being able to put so many of them in a list and keep them all together and bring all. Basically, I'm never wasting shots with these guys, and that's what's really important, is because of the way their arc is printed. And it's kind of really hard to categorize and rank arcs, at least mathematically, because it's physically printed on there. But I think their arc, at least for me, works the best. Out of these 2, though, I tend to fly the light cruiser, the cheaper one, way more than the command cruiser. And it's just because I'm trying to get as much as I can in there. Although the command cruiser even though it's a little more expensive, you've also got the support team, so you can do engine techs on there, and you can do a lot of interesting stuff. Engine techs for these would be great. It would give you tremendous maneuverability, and you could take a ship that ranks kind of low in maneuverability. But like if you ran Gergeron with engine techs and a nav here, you could have at speed 3 you could do 2 clicks, 1 click in the middle, and 2 clicks on the end, and then do an engine tech for another 2 clicks. So you could really turn this into arguably the most maneuverable ship. So you could do some crazy things with it, and I really want to do that. I talk about it, but I haven't done it yet. So I need to do that, and I'll be doing that while I'm out in Kansas City, but I only brought Rebels with me for these couple of weeks that I've been out here, so I can't exactly mess around with crazy Arquitens experiments. But that's my list, guys. That is all of them. Let me know what you think. What did I get wrong that you disagree with? And it's totally okay, because this is preference, and I'm curious to hear what you guys would rank number 1. I think a lot of people would put the Victory at number 1, and then also a lot of people would put the ISD at number 1. I'm curious if, out of those, which, or maybe you have one of the ones on the bottom of my list at the bottom. I've known some people who rank the Raider as their top ship, so that's interesting. But yeah, so let me know what you think. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, and click the little bell for alerts so you can be notified. I am getting much closer to 8,000 subscribers, so I am going to be giving away the Star Wars Celebration 2017 exclusive Rey Funko Pop vinyl on her speeder. So make sure you are subscribed, and all you have to do to enter that contest is leave a comment on one of my videos and be a subscriber. So thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day.